can still remember the day that I had met Paul. After a TEAK trip to the Tenement Museum, we had went to a hot chocolate place nearby. This was actually the best place that I would say so. We only knew each other from a form we filled out in which I had jokingly put just chicken as my favorite food. Maybe it was fate, but after a little meet at the hot chocolate place, we had just hit it off. I wanted to know more about him, and I felt that he might just be the adult figure I needed at this time in my life. After meeting Paul, there was a noticeable change in my behavior and the way of acting towards others. Maybe it was the constant Dave and Buster's trips, or the sentimental long talks, or even getting to know his family as he got to know mine. I finally had a new friend to talk to. He would help me up when I was down. Or if I was knocked to my feet. After thinking for a long time, I would say that the best outing that I went with my mentor was the boarding school trips. Honestly, thanks to Paul, I would have never been able to be accepted to a boarding school. I remember during our trip to Taft and Loomis, I chose Loomis by the way, no offense to Taft. I learned more about his own experience in boarding school, and it opened my eyes to the opportunities that I had in my own, that I could have if I want to learn. But at the end of the visit, he helped solidify my view on boarding schools and take away any irrational fears I did have, as well as rational fears about whether boarding school would interfere with my religion. He had helped solidify my dad, who is here in the audience today, that even boarding school wouldn't shake my belief, and that I would do great. What my mentor means to me is that he is like a second father to me, a best friend, a supporter, and sometimes just a person that can just take me out sometimes when things are tough. Thank you, Paul, and even though this might be goodbye when I go to boarding school.
It's not going to be goodbye. You can't get rid of me that fast. Yeah, okay. I just have a few quick remarks, and one I wanted to mention to Jeff Blasi and to Mentor One is that I started off at Goldman Sachs as part of this program called SEO, which helped low-income students of color get an introduction to investment banking. And we were introduced, we were told that he was one of the supporters, and we were told to come and meet him. He won't remember, but I did meet him in his office. But anyways, I want to say thank you. Mentoring's been in his blood for a long, long time. So what I want to say is that clearly in a mentor relationship, it is mutual. And if anything, I probably learned more from Mahamadou than he's learned from me. I mean, I've been blessed to learn his family and to appreciate the rich culture and history, which has been a wonderful experience. I had his siblings, his parents, and all, and that's just been a real gift for me. So when I was starting off with Mahamadou, I was trying to think, what could I offer him? Obviously, he was more intellectual than me, so I wasn't going to be able to help him in that regard. But I thought maybe I could help him figure out that life is about relationships, and as Jeff said about friendships, life's about relationships, and how to build relationships, how to cultivate relationships, how to socialize properly, how to learn about etiquette, and all these things are really important, and how in a first impression, how to shake somebody's hand properly, firmly look them in the eyes, and set off a first impression. So there were two turning points in our relationship. One is after a performance at City Center, we went to a couple performances at City Center, we went to this elegant restaurant nearby. And at the restaurant, it was pretty fancy, pretty nice. We ordered our food, the food was delicious, and the maitre d' kept coming to our table asking, how are you, is the food good? And every time Mahamadou would stand up and say, thank you, sir, it's quite fine. So he did this like 3 times. He would just say, thank you, sir, it's quite fine. So the third time that he thanked the maitre d' for this lovely meal and did it in such a gracious way, in such a polite way, the maitre d' said, dessert's on me. So clearly he knew more about etiquette than me. He got a free dessert. So with that, he developed more confidence. And as I was saying, we went to a restaurant with our whole family together, and this was one restaurant where I said, this hot chocolate, because we were the hot chocolate connoisseurs going all over the place, this hot chocolate is the absolute finest in the world. You're not going to believe it. This is incredible. So we go to this restaurant, and my kids know that I've told them that this is the best hot chocolate. So we get there, so Mahamadou sips the hot chocolate, and we're all waiting. We said, well, how is it? He says, I've had better. So that time, from that moment on, he like stood up to me. He was no longer trying to please me with everything he did. It was the things of hot chocolate. Just two other quick things. One is that we were in the car once, and his little brother, who's like the cutest thing, he's like 7, and he's got trouble written on his forehead. Everything he does, he's always getting into some kind of trouble, but just a really wonderful kid. His younger brother, Musa, asked me, he says, "How old are you?" And Mahamadou, who generally always says the right thing, but this time I could tell it was just a little imperfect. He said, "You never ask an old person how old they are." But anyway, on a closing note, I'm just really excited because I'm going to experience the day tomorrow with him as he graduates.